look, we've changed the planet and it is turning against us. I remember in my late teens reading an article in a 1975 science journal which speculated on humanity's impact since the Industrial Revolution, that is, its impact on global atmosphere. The result of that 1975 speculation was a model of warming gas building up in the atmosphere. So over decades, mountains of data and research on global warming have been collected and analysed. One prediction was the rise of extreme weather events with an ever-increasing frequency. Another prediction was generalised global warming. What we have witnessed is the original theory becoming fact. A fact that to this day the corporate business community with its corporate media propaganda machine ignores, belittles, denies or downplays this fact. Well, I fish amidst the cry of "Vengeance is mine, saith the natural world." The biosphere as an infinitely complex but somewhat delicate global mechanism is going dysfunctional, like a toddler juiced up on red cordial and snakes. And the suggestion that the way to deal with this is purchasing all the crap in a world of shopping malls throughout the country to take your mind off that scientific fact is not going to change the plunge towards an unlivable Blade Runner-styled space for humanity. Infinite consumption in a finite global system is a physical impossibility. Just ask a physicist. It's like a round square. It doesn't exist. So a livable planet is becoming that round square due to infinite consumption and infinite growth, and its byproduct, global warming. We were rudely awoken by an evacuation alarm that came through the phone. We got into the car and headed straight for the Bermagui Surf Life Saving Club. During the night, an inferno had ripped through Wadbilliga, Cobargo, Corma and Coolooga Light. It was pitch black.
Hi, so it's a beautiful summer's day here in the big evac centre. You can tell by having the lights on full blast and the fact that if you step away from them you need a torch to see what you're doing. The good thing is under this new global warming, anthropogenic created summer is that you remember how you used to get woken up by roosters? Roosters now actually under this crow for 12 hours and then collapse from exhaustion. So, there's Annie over there. I'll just show you what I'm looking at. The camera can hardly focus. There's so little light. It's just confused. And it's lunchtime. Well, it was New Year's Eve morning, and if anybody wanted a foretaste of the global warming apocalyptic scenario, it was near the surf club at Bermagui. It was 10 a.m. in the morning, and it was like a dark night with no moon at all. It was literally pitch black. They had all of the lights turned on around the sporting oval, and you could still barely see. It was so incredibly dark. The smoke, of course, was stifling, and 4,000 to 5,000 people gathered there. The fear and the panic, you could smell it, and not knowing what was happening, not knowing what the future was, and your mind going through every single possible calamitous scenario at once, any of those scenarios being possible. It was global warming calamity symbolised, exemplified, incarnate, literally. The most interesting thing on New Year's Eve, when the mini apocalypse occurred, was that we'd always been promised the magnificence of the modern technological communicative universe where we can all be in touch at any time, and how it would be of sublime benefit in a disaster or a crisis. Well, on that New Year's Eve, the communication network vanished like a puff of smoke. It was gone. There was nothing. No phone, no network, no internet. All you could rely on was a simple old battery-powered radio. And even then you could only pick up a couple of ABC stations and a few local stations that just played shit hits from the 70s, 80s and 90s. Without a communication network, everything was Chinese whispers and word of mouth. And we were in the Trumpian world of weird pseudo-truths. You'd be standing there and somebody would say, oh, such and such a place had just burnt to the ground. That was Wallaga Lake. So I then, when it was clear, drove to Wallaga Lake. It was still there. And you'd have other rumours a month or two before we'd heard where, oh, you couldn't go north because the roads had melted. Annie had to go north and she texted me saying, fact check, roads haven't melted. The whispers just became bizarre. We're here at Bega now, and there's one rumour that, if the fire comes, they'll evacuate all of Bega by bus. Apart from there not being enough buses in it, would probably take a week or two to evacuate everybody. It's just fevered nonsense, grabbing people's minds, shaking them into a state of froth, and then they spout whatever nonsense, and then it spreads like a wildfire.
So what is global warming? I don't even know why I'm doing this. You can see the climate cycle, which embodies climate change. A reasonably slow cycle, changing palpably over thousands of years and creating ice ages during that period, until we come along. But the deniers simply proclaim that what we are going through is just a part of that natural cycle. Except the rate of change is now over decades, not thousands or tens of thousands of years. So look at the tail end, which starts post the Industrial Revolution. That is our impact. Quite noticeable, isn't it? Undeniably obvious. Hard to deny. Only an idiot would deny it. And as I've pointed out, global fluctuations that contribute to ice ages occur on a cycle of hundreds of thousands of years. But our global warming fluctuations have been occurring over hundreds of years, actually now down to tens of years. Climate scientists have continuously modelled what's going on, and they look at all of the factors in play. The climate scientists incorporate into their models factors that affect the climate cycle, such as solar radiation levels, El Nino, volcanic activity, and so on. With volcanic activity, it emits particles that temporarily cool the Earth's surface. But their effect lasts just a few years. Even El Nino works on predictable cycles, which they factor into their models. These events contribute a small but predictable percentage to the very recent warming effect we are experiencing. The balance comes from greenhouse gases and other human-caused factors. And yes, this massive layer of human-created fart gas could be imagined to sit on top of the climate cycle like an evil steroidal fog. That steroidal fog raises the climate cycle to catastrophic levels, forever increasing periods of time at that raised level, also fueling the cycles to be more extreme for ever lengthening periods. And then we hear globally the crank choir of global warming deniers. The Turdock media empire is a prime example of this. It gives global warming deniers a voice by bullhorning their crackpot skepticism about global warming, proclaiming that humanity's impact on climate is doubtful, and any changes we are experiencing are solely due to the processes of the climate cycle, thus ignoring the existence and impact of global warming and humanity's contribution to it.
Since February, no positive, active actions in order to prepare the country and people for the potentiality of a disaster which had been predicted and which is now here and which is ravaging whole communities. However, we can spy on all Australians to keep them safe. We can keep out refugees, and we will have strike fighters to fly elsewhere and bomb God knows who. The spending of billions of dollars on strike fighters to bomb wherever overseas in order to protect Australia and Australians, protection in the national interest, when here we have a situation where all we need are water bombers that will instantly protect and preserve Australian property and Australian life. Do we hear of any movement to buying them or attempting to at this point in time? No, we are told by Scumbo, the Prime Minister, we have to be patient and wait as the right moves and actions are being taken, and eventually they will come to fruition in the state powers fighting the fires. Complete policy abnegation. There is no policy. We need billions spent on water bombers now, immediately. It won't happen, of course. There'll be a PR spin, and the Prime Minister's offices and his team will be working on some PR campaign to make their policy of doing absolutely nothing look good, look logical, look rational, and look to be acting in Australia's interests.
This is 5 p.m, when the sun will actually probably be going down in 3 hours' time at about 8 o'clock at night. Thank God for the lights.
Saying that individually to have a go is to get a go. What is that meaningless gibberish? It's just insane. It's just catchphrases and jobs and growth. How about ravaged communities and a fire catastrophe that could have been planned for? I went for a short walk and got my 20 packets of cigarette smoke equivalent just by walking. So, you sit here, you're informed that a firestorm is hurtling towards where your home is, and it will be the roulette wheel that will decide whether you have a home in the next 48 hours. That's just a form of existential suspension that you are in.
Yet another black sky incident at Bega. We experience 2 black sky incidents in our lifetime. Fire on Mount Mumbler, stories of Mallacoota and Mogo burning down.
So, again, well done here. We trust you're being well looked after in the emergency evacuation centre.
A young mayor and a council staff that did a superb job of taking care of the traumatised, the emotionally lost, the psychically desperate, all those people living in tents in varying degrees of fear and loathing. For the federal government, of course, it was business as usual. Holidays to Hawaii as the federal cabinet strive for a budget surplus, and of course, tax breaks for the corporate elite. Praise where praise is truly due. Now, to the volunteer firefighting folk who were paid nothing to stand in front of an oncoming firestorm inferno with just a piddling little fire hose in their hands, you guys are mad heroes. You all deserve to be Australians of the Year. No, make that Australians of the Century. I pray you don't quit due to what you witnessed and withstood, all the fear and anxiety that it may have induced, as we will need you mad, brave souls in the future. You deserve shrines and national marches, and to take on the mantle of Australian saints and martyrs. You weren't paid to put your lives on the line, but you did it anyway. There are no words to express the gratitude that folk who were spectators to the disaster wish to convey to you.
Okay.
You've got to let me see how I look.
So, you look fine.
Where am I?
I don't know.
And you're doing that right now? No, it's not like
So we've just been told that we can head back and over to Wendy, because except we haven't got any power, so I haven't got any sewerage.
Well,
Hang on.
very good news for us all, because we have the pit down the bottom of the street at the park, and I have a bucket, and I've got tomatoes growing, and it'll be all good compost. Thank you.